I've got to update all of the streams. For some reason, YouTube decided not to launch the live like it was supposed to. So now I got to update it. Let's see here. Hopefully this fixes the problem. We can get some people in here to check out this thing. I think I made the problem worse. What's going on, everybody? I'm just trying to get the live stream out there on Facebook. So bear with me. YouTube, being YouTube, didn't let me launch the live. The original live I had set up 5 minutes ago. I think we're good to go. What's going on? What's going on? Let's see what we got. When can I do a fasting challenge? Oh, I've got an ice cream video coming out in roughly 30 minutes. It's the chocolate ice cream video. I'm gonna be putting that out so that you guys can get it. It's pretty much the same ice cream recipe with chocolate cacao powder, which is good. You want to do a 40-day fast, but you're kind of scared. I'm pretty sure we got people in the group that have done 40-day fast, maybe even in this chat. What's going on, Elizabeth? Tiffany's in here, Angela, Jamie, or Jaime, depending on what country you're from, maybe. That's just a little joke. I used to work with Jaime's, and I thought it's not spelled James, but for some reason James and Jaime, people use those names interchangeably. Does stevia break the fast? Well, you guys are just getting right into it, huh? Okay. Yeah, stevia. Well, let's talk about what a fast is, okay? Because I think it's different for different people. So let's establish some ground rules for what a fast actually is. In the ancient sense of a fast is not consuming food or water. So the questions that you guys have about putting things in your water, do they break a fast in the ancient sense? Yeah, of course, because anything that you have outside of air would be considered breaking your fast. In a more modern sense, fasting is considered water. We're really afraid of dry fasting in the modern world. We've been taught a lot of things about it that I would consider incorrect, but because of that, we tend to like doing water fasting, which is fine. If you're doing a pure water fast, anything that you put in your water would be breaking your fast, because your fast is a commitment to drinking water only. That's why it's called a water fast. Now, as far as the more technical side of things, are you going to hurt the results of your fast? Well, it depends on what you're putting in your water. Something like infused fruit juice or something like that. Like if you cut up like some strawberries and put it in your water, you didn't eat the strawberries, but you just drank the water, that would have a very minimal effect on your water fast. Stevia, I've actually not done a lot of research on. For some reason, I've never been a fan of the idea of stevia, and that could just be from a lack of knowledge. And I don't like speaking on things that I'm not really familiar with, so I can't really say whether it is or is not good for you. I could say that if stevia is synthesized, then it's probably not something you want to use in a water fast. If it's something like agave, which is a nectar, it'd probably be better, but I still wouldn't use it. For those of you who want to put something in your water or you're trying to do something to alleviate some of the detox symptoms, I would encourage you guys to try infused water, which is just where you take, some cucumbers or some lime lime juice or limes or oranges or whatever fruit that you might like, and cut that up and put that in your water. That would be a lot easier on the fast than if did like a thick sugar substance, like even agave. Uh, can you do a 40-day fast? What'd you say? Hold on. Um, I lost that question. I think it was, can you do a 40-day fast and then go into a dry fast? Yeah, you can do a 40-day fast and then go into a dry fast. On your water fast, you want to make sure that you're drinking a lot of water. And let me explain why the water is so important for those who don't know already. Most people walk around dehydrated. If you speak to a doctor, who tests hydration levels, most people are dehydrated. Even people who drink a lot of water are dehydrated. So with knowing that, you have to kind of figure out why. Why is it that people are dehydrated so much, even people who drink a gallon of water a day? It's because the body needs what's called structured water. And if we drink a gallon of water a day, the body is still only going to utilize a portion of that. I can't tell you the exact number. I've heard 3% of the water we drink actually becomes structured and utilized. So you can imagine that if you drink a lot of sodas and things that aren't pure water, how much less water you're getting. The other thing is we really should be eating a lot of our water. And I've got a new book that I'll be reading. And hopefully by the end of October, I'll have a little bit more information about this as I go through my little water series in October. But we should be eating our water, which means we should be getting it from the fruit we eat. And I've mentioned that you get a lot of water from, different fruits. That's why I suggest high water content fruits. So if you're doing a long water fast and you want to go into a dry fast, or if you're doing any type of fasting or any type of prep for a dry fast, you want to make sure that you hydrate as best as you can before you attempt the dry fast, because that's very important. um, let's see if I could find. You guys really want some fasting challenges, huh? One of the ideas that I have for the future is putting together a fasting challenge, and it'll be in a video format, something that allows you guys to, if you're new to fasting, it'll allow you to kind of jump right in. So that's something I'll be putting together in the future. What type of water is best for fasting? Okay, so if you guys haven't seen my water videos yet, I would highly suggest watching them. I get a lot of questions about things that I've talked about in videos, and I understand that some people are new to the channel and haven't had opportunity to look at the videos. I have almost 100 videos available. So a lot of times I'll just try to direct you all in to the video or whatever that might help you answer your question. I would suggest that you guys watch. I have a video that I talk about. It's called Distilled Water versus Spring Water. It's an old video, so it's going to be at the beginning of my video list. And then I also have another video talking about how to naturally alkalize the water. I call it sun water. So when you ask what's the best water to use on a water fast, my opinion, it would be sun water. And sun water is essentially just taking water and putting it in a glass jar and sitting it out in the sun for a period of time. The longer you sit it out there, the better. The more water you sit out there, the longer you should sit it out. So if you've got a gallon of water, you should sit it out for 4 hours in the sun. Direct sunlight would be optimal. Indirect sunlight still works. So even if it's just daylight outside, or if it's cloudy and it's daytime, you can still put your water outside. And as I go through the water series, I'll be touching on these things again for those who are new to the channel who haven't got a chance to get this information. But look for the sun water video. That will be the best water to drink on a water fast. It's the water I drink in general. I'll also be going over exactly what I do to manufacture my water, why I use this type of glass, what it is, why I use a cork. I mean, we'll be talking about all of that coming up this next month in October. So just tune in this next month of October so you guys can get all that information. Can I? What is? If you're doing a dry fast, if you're doing a dry fast and you're worried about body odor, I would suggest doing a soft dry fast and not a hard dry fast. I mean, that's really the answer to that. If you're doing a hard dry fast, it's probably something that you need to plan ahead of time. Maybe if you have a job where you're working around people all day and you're concerned about body odor, then you want to take some time off from work. One of the things I've talked about before is we have to prioritize our health because, yeah, you can go on being unhealthy and doing what you've been doing, and you'll live for another 20, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever it may be. But this is about optimizing health. That's kind of my whole thing is not just healing diseases that we have, it's preventative care as well. If you're concerned with what your future looks like as an individual, then I would highly suggest you guys use some vacation time, use some personal days, whatever you have to do to set aside some time to, number one, you want to create a stress-free environment, especially when you're dry fasting. As much as possible, you want to be in a stress-free environment. If you can avoid working for a period of time, if you can avoid being around your kids or any type of stressors in your life, eliminate as many stressors as you can when you fast, and especially when you dry fast. Put yourself in a position where you're able to get fresh water and air as best as possible. Um, I think preparation for these fasts are important. It's going to help you be more successful. And then, you know, the thing is that you'll see how worth it is after the fact. You might not see, you might think, oh, I don't know if it's going to work, or I don't know if it's really worth my time, taking off from work and things like that. But the reality is we spend our time and energy and money on far less things that will give us far less value. I talk to people all the time who are telling me, just after a few days of doing a water fast or a dry fast or whatever it may be, they've seen changes in their life that they haven't seen in, years, decades. Last week I put out a video with an interview I did with Ken, where for 25 years he had been dealing with epilepsy, and after changing his diet, he went to a keto diet, which I would say that the keto diet is absolutely better than the standard American diet. And he started doing a little bit of fasting. Just from making those little bit of changes, he is able to live seizure free without taking medication. So, I mean, just think about whatever you're dealing with, whether it's diabetes. We've had so many people talk about having diabetes, being on diabetic medication, and very, very quickly coming off of it just from doing, short fasts and rapid succession, consecutively. Uh, it's just like an everyday thing for me. So fasting works. It's well worth your time if your health is important to you. And if it's not important to you, I don't know why you're on a healthy alternative. You probably probably stumbled in here by accident. Hey, Greg, what's going on? I'm glad you could catch me live too. I figured I'd do, some lives during different times of day so that you guys could, people who don't typically get to see me get a chance to see me. Oh my goodness. The chat just moved on me all of a sudden. Someone said something about truck drivers. I'm assuming you were asking for information if you're a truck driver. I put a video out a couple of weeks ago. Well, it might have been a couple of months ago now. It's called fasting for strenuous jobs or something like that. It's a couple months old. Uh, and it basically talks about how to fast if you have a strenuous job, including truck drivers. Okay, how to get more sunlight or energy because it gets dark in the winter. Um, I'm still researching sunlight and sun energy and how it works. I would say that y- I know that we tend to think that if the sun's not shining directly on us, that it's not doing anything. And there's a lot of information that talks about, solar highs and lows and different times of the year. Um, if the sun is a major concern for you, if you don't get a lot of sunlight year round or something of that nature, you may want to consider moving. That may sound like an extreme answer, but it's a real answer. You may want to consider moving if you really feel like that your sunlight is lacking. I believe that because of the evolution of man, and I'm not talking about evolution from a Darwinism standpoint, but just as mankind has became more technologically advanced and things like that, we can live in climates that aren't necessarily natural to live in, or at least not for certain people. I know for me, I like to be around the sun and I like getting sunlight, and the sun does something very special with me and my skin and the way I feel. So living in an environment where it's cloudy a lot or rainy a lot or snowy a lot or dark a lot wouldn't work well for me. So, moving would be a good option in that instance. Also, being intentional about the amount of time you spend outside is going to be very helpful. Even though you may not feel like you're getting energy from the sun, and you may not feel like you're getting what you need, that may not be the case. So with the research that I've done with the water, I've noticed that even though the water is not necessarily in direct sunlight, it's still being charged or energized, or the molecular structure of the water is still changing. So I would safely assume that it's the same for us, that we're still able to draw energy from the sun even though it's not direct, because the clouds would act as kind of like a filter, I suppose. So you're not going to get the full spectrum of light, but that doesn't mean that you're not getting anything. If you're asking me about what supplement you can take to replace sunlight, there's a lot of people who will tell you to take vitamin D supplements. Some of the other holistic people will tell you to take iron, that you need iron. My suggestion would be that if you guys are going to supplement, whether it's iron or whatever it is, make sure that you're supplementing from a natural source. So the best way to get your minerals and vitamins and things like that would be from your diet. Um, a lot of times we end up putting things in our water and in our food and in our mouth that aren't. Okay, let me give you a quick example. The cereal Total. If you guys are familiar with the cereal called Total, it is 100% daily value of everything you supposedly need. All right. There was an experiment done where this science teacher, he put some water in with a bowl of Total cereal, and he blended all the flakes up, and he got a very powerful magnet, and he took the magnet outside of this bowl or this glass and was able to actually collect particles of iron from the Total cereal. Okay, so what you have to understand is when they're telling you that they're giving you iron, okay, in your food, and this is a synthetic product, they're literally telling you that they're putting iron fibers in your food. They're microscopic, but they're literally telling you that there is actual metal in your food. Now, I want you guys to think about this from a very logical standpoint. Do you think that your body can digest iron in any size, big or small? Do you think our bodies are designed to absorb metal, actual metal? Okay, there's different forms of things, inorganic and organic forms. And if they're putting inorganic forms of minerals in your food, I'm guaranteeing you that it's not helping you. A lot of the issues we get from arthritis and things like that come from calcium deposits and things like that, getting in our joints and other parts of our body. And that's because we're consuming small particulates of rocks. Okay, so I would say be careful about supplements. If you want to study different foods where you can get iron from the different foods, that'd be a good idea. Um, and the plants and things like that absorb sunlight, condense it, and that's how they grow, and that's where they get their nutrition from. And I understand that that might not be the most popular idea because we've been taught something differently, but I've looked at studies where people have taken plants, trees, and put them in large containers with uh, soil and things like that, soil and the nutrients in the soil that they say that plants get, and that's how they grow. And they've grown these plants from saplings, or these trees from saplings to 15 years old, and then tested the soil to see how much of the micronutrients were taken out of the soil, and they've seen no difference in the amount of um, soil that was there in the beginning of the experiment versus 10, 15 years later. To me, that proves that we don't understand where the plants are getting their nutrients from. I believe plants and humans are very similar in the sense we get it from the sun and water, and everything else is a supplement. So if we're not getting the proper nutrients from the food we eat or from the sun, right? If we live in environments where we don't get a lot of sun, then we can supplement uh, from by eating plants and get their nutrition essentially because it's organic. It's an organic version of the minerals. I hope that's makes sense. I hope I'm not rambling, but um, let's see if I got raw honey. I don't really have too much opinion about raw honey. Um, I know that there's a lot of benefits of eating raw honey, and I'm not really one to try to tell people what to do and what not to do. I really just try to share my opinion about things and share my experiences. I would say that if you're using raw honey for something specific and it's working, um, I would suggest that you see how long it takes before whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're using the raw honey for. If you're using it for some type of health benefit, let's just say that you were told that raw honey helps with coughs, the common cold, and you got a cold, and it typically takes you 3 days to a week to get over the cold, and you take some honey and your cold is gone in one day, then I would say, yeah, it sounds like the honey may have helped you out there. Obviously, you need to run that experiment a couple times or maybe with other people to see. But at the end of the day, I would say, look at your own results. Now, if you're using honey to, let's just say someone said that honey cures diabetes or something like that, right? If you're eating honey and it is helping with your diabetic condition, it's keeping your numbers low and things of that nature. And then if you stop taking the honey and those numbers go back up, right? Then it didn't cure you. All it did was treat you. I'm all about like actual healing. So removing the issues that are causing the diabetic condition would be my goal, and that's kind of the world that I live in. So I'm not really big on, hey, can I take this thing to help with this issue? I think herbs and stuff like that are good, and I think that it's good to supplement with things of that nature. But by the same token, um, why supplement with something or why use something as a treatment if you could just get rid of the issue altogether? Our poor eating habits cause most of the problems with our health. And so I would say eliminate the stressors in your life that are causing the disease. If you're asking me about raw honey just from a point of view of sweetening, um, I haven't heard anything bad personally about raw honey. I don't use it because it's an animal product, and I try to stay away from animal products. I'm not vegan. I know a lot of people think that I'm vegan. I'm not vegan. I will consume honey if it's on something, but I don't go and buy it. It's just something that I don't really deal with. I choose to use agave instead, and I've had good luck with that so far. I also judge, what I eat based on how it makes me feel. As I get healthier and healthier, it's much easier to see how my body reacts to things. So, eating agave hasn't really had any negative effect on me that I can tell so far. I've been eating a lot of agave lately because it's in my ice cream. I put a cup or so in my ice cream, and I've been eating that ice cream nonstop for the past couple weeks. It's an expensive habit, but I'm also trying to test it to see how healthy it is. I want to make sure that it's something that I can really get behind and promote. I think it's pretty good so far. I've had no negative effects of eating it. Uh, can you use fasting to cure mental illnesses such as OCD and depression? And I've spoke about the mental illnesses a couple times. I do believe that you can heal anything that's wrong with you. I know that a lot of people don't agree with being able to heal brain diseases like that or mental diseases like that, but I think that all diseases are healable, and I think they all stem from something. Some stimulus is causing that problem. It could be something that you dealt with as a child, as a baby. It could be something that your parents dealt with, and because you're conceived from your two parents, then you can be born with issues. I think we blame genetics and we blame DNA for a lot of things. And if we do that, then obviously there's nothing you can do to fix your genetics. So it's kind of like an out for a lot of diseases. But I've seen a lot of emotional healing from doing fasting personally, as well as um, people who have been depressed going into fasting, who are taking medication and are able to come out of those depressions from not just fasting, but also eating the proper things coming out of a fast. One of the things I learned uh, quite a while ago is that the food we eat has a large impact on our chemistry, right? Which we kind of we know that part, but the chemistry of our body has a large impact on our attitude, our mood, and our thought process. There's a lot of research done in how the brain works and the chemistry and how it can be disrupted and used against us. Uh, One of the studies that was done by McDonald's was to find out what color combinations triggered hunger. The color combination of, what is it, red and yellow, somehow triggers hunger in the brain. And as lay people, we don't understand how shapes, symbols, colors affect our psyche and our the chemistry inside our bodies. We would do well to start learning some of these things, because when you start learning and understanding some of these things, you see how these industries can use something as simple as a clown and colors to get us to buy their product. And then you start seeing, why McDonald's food is so addictive. It's not just the chemicals they're putting in the food, it's the advertising, it's how they advertise, even down to the color scheme. So that's pretty deep, but it's true. I cramp up a lot. I drink a gallon a day. Um, if you cramp up a lot, um, I would highly suggest energizing your water. And I don't know what kind of water you're drinking, but for generally speaking, if I'm talking to somebody who's getting a lot of cramps, I'm thinking that you've got some inorganic material in your tissue that's causing these issues. Distilled water has the ability to pull inorganic material out of our tissues and out of our body. It's one of the big issues a lot of people have with distilled water is that they say that it pulls minerals out. One of the things I learned early on is the difference between organic and inorganic minerals. And so if you're cramping a lot due to inorganic material being placed in your tissue and in your joints, then distilled water will help, pull that stuff out. I have not dealt with any cramping. I've been drinking distilled water for roughly 3 years now, so it may be something that you want to try. I usually distill my water and then I put it outside on my patio to sun energize. And if you don't believe that the sun has the ability to um, alter the water in any way, just try it. It doesn't hurt to try. A lot of the things that I talk about, I feel like, are simple things for you to just go out and try. Don't take my word for it. Just try it. Just by doing it, putting the water out there, you could see how it changes the flavor of it. That alone should let you know that there's something happening that you can't really explain or don't understand. And then maybe from there you can look into more about that. Should you fast while sick, like having a cold? It depends on you. The beautiful thing about the fasting journey is it's very safe if done correctly, and there's not a lot of rules. So if you feel like you're up to fasting while you're sick, then I'd say go for it. Sometimes fasting will cause you to feel sick. There's the whole keto rash people talk about. The keto rash and the keto cold or the keto flu are the same as what I would call a fasting rash or a fasting cold. It's basically just your body pushing toxins out. Uh, the way we view colds and things of that nature, getting sick, the way we even view it, the way we've been taught how what it is and what our body's doing has been is wrong, in my opinion. So we look at a cold as a bad thing. Well, a cold is not really a bad thing. A cold, or the symptoms that you get from having a cold, is actually your body fighting something up. Like your body is working. So a cold is a good thing in the sense that your body is doing something positive towards healing. Supporting your body during that time is important. If you're fasting, then you're doing the best thing in your power to support your body while it's fighting off this cold or whatever, right? Whatever it's fighting off. If you want to eat and you have a cold or something like that, and you want to eat something, the best thing you could eat would be high water content foods. So once again, it goes back to the fruits. Anything that would dry you out would be something you want to stay away from. Anything that would be considered a diuretic would be something you'd want to stay away from. You want to hydrate as much as possible if you don't feel well, if you have a cold or something like that. Eat your water. Grab some oranges. Oranges, historically speaking, tend to be one of the fan favorites for healing. I believe just because of the fact that they're citrus and they have a high water content, and they're readily available. I'm sure there's probably better fruits, but the orange tends to be a fan favorite when it comes to the holistic approach. Uh, yeah, would drinking coconut water be considered breaking your fast? Well, whether you're drinking coconut water for cramps or just because the detox symptoms become too much for you, like I said earlier, technically, yeah, it'd be breaking your fast if you've committed yourself to a water fast. You see, the commitment is different from what we scientifically find, breaks your fast and things like that. A lot of you all speak about ketosis and ketones and keto bodies and things like that. When, a ketogenic diet or a fasting mimicking diet is not the same as fasting. Okay. Um, you can eat you can actually eat a certain diet and produce ketones, right? Which is what the ketogenic diet is all about. And the idea is that your body runs on that fuel more efficiently than it does other things. So there's a certain amount of healing that comes along with utilizing a ketogenic diet. Fasting for me is something completely different. It's a mental thing as well as a physical thing. So it's a commitment to not eating, but it's also the idea that you understand, what's going to happen for you, the positive things that are going to happen physically and mentally as well. I don't think that you get the full benefits of a fast when you include other things in your water, or if you drink things outside of water. You can utilize coconut water on your fast if you feel like that's what you need to do. There's no hard, in stone um, rules for your particular fasting journey. It's your journey. Do what you think is necessary. Do I recommend it? No, because I think you'll get the most benefit from doing water only. But if you want to do coconut water, you can. You could do juice. There's a lot of things you could do, but just know that it will have some. Um, I don't want to necessarily say a negative effect, but it will have some effect on your water fast. Sometimes, instead of breaking the fast completely, having some coconut water might save you from breaking your fast. And in that case, that's a really positive effect because it's much better to drink coconut water than to start eating again if your goal is fasting. You said, why don't I suggest salt and potassium being added to the water to keep your electrolytes? The reason I don't suggest salt or potassium is because it's putting something in the water, and that's 100% as simple as it is. I don't believe it to be necessary because um, I've fasted many people as well as fasted myself without electrolytes being added. We've had a member who fasted for 100 days, a member that fasted for 60 days, 40 days, all different races, genders, and none of those people used the electrolytes. If your belief is that you need the electrolytes when you do your fast, then put the electrolytes in your water. Um, I recommend against it because I believe it impedes the fast. But if you want to put electrolytes in there, by all means, feel free. I can't stop you, and I'm not going to argue with people about it. Uh, there's some people who preach electrolytes, and there's some people who say you don't need it. I've never known anyone to die on a fast from putting electrolytes or not putting electrolytes. So I think it's kind of your choice. Um, Will putting electrolytes in the water help you? Yeah, sure, because you're putting something in the water. It's going to stunt the detox process. You could do the same thing by, my suggestion earlier, putting some infusing some fruit into your water. That would give you the same type of relief that you would get if you were putting electrolytes in the water. I would prefer that method over, something synthetic. And also, personally, I prefer it over the salt because, you know, I'm personally just not a big fan of the taste of the water that when you put salt in it. I really, really like the refreshing flavor of fresh sun water. I've tried the salt in my water, and it's not a very good flavor. I know you're not supposed to put a lot of it in there, but even the small amount, which is what, like a teaspoon for a gallon of water or whatever it is, it altered the flavor of the water enough to where it bothered me. So I don't like the salt in my water, and I don't need it, and I don't want other people to think that they need it. You can do it if you want. If you're really concerned about electrolytes and you would like to fast without putting electrolytes in your water, put the electrolytes in your system after you finish your fast. If you're doing a 10-day fast, Do your electrolytes afterwards. Another reason why I don't think you need the electrolytes is because we've had blood work done. Um, we've had several people do blood work and, 10-day fast, 7-day fast, 20-day fast. They'll do blood work, and their blood work always comes back fine with no electrolyte deficiencies. We've even seen people who have done blood work before the fast and after the fast, and they had deficiencies before the fast and didn't have deficiencies after the fast. So it's hard for me to believe that you need electrolytes during a fast. I don't see the proof of it. I hear a lot of people talking about it, but a lot of people say a lot of things. And, I'm a big fan of empirical data. I'm a big fan of things I can test for myself. I'm a big fan of things that I can explain. And I can't explain needing electrolytes in the water. I've never seen it be necessary. If you talk to some of the top fasting, the independent fasting um, gurus, most of them will tell you that you don't need it. I mean, if you want to use it, use it. If you don't want to use it, don't worry about it. You don't have to. Are you going to feel detox symptoms if you don't put salt in your water? Sure. But you're going to feel that because that's part of the process. Putting something in your water to stop that is not really, I mean, it's not, it's just slowing it down. It's slowing it down and it's giving you temporary relief. And if that's what you need, do it. I'm not really super big on telling people what they can and can't do. I really just want to make the recommendations. Um, can you have fruit instead of infused water? Absolutely. There, you can fruit fast. You can fast on anything that you want. you know, I can't say it enough. It's your journey. I'll tell you what, fruit fasting would be way better than having a McDonald's hamburger. It would be way better than um, going to any of your favorite restaurants. It'd be way better than having a meal out of a can. Okay, fruit fasting is a great option. I would highly suggest fruit fasting. If you can't tolerate pure water fasting for one reason or the other, fruit fast. If fruit fasting's a little bit too easy for you, and you feel like you want something a little bit more challenging, try doing juice fasting. You could try smoothies. You could do meal replacements with smoothies. You could have 2 or 3 smoothies a day. Which once again, all of these options are better than your standard American diet, and they will all promote healing. So, it's really up to you. You could do a combination of it. Actually, the video I'm going to be putting out Sunday is going to be a breakdown of some of the options you guys have for detoxing on um, like not an extreme level, but a taking steps to detoxing. How you could build your tolerance up for the whole process. You take baby steps and then you slowly but surely uh, are able to do the more extreme fasts or whatever. Fasting longer, fasting with less. We can work our way up to that. It's a journey, right? A journey is not a sprint. It's not something that you're gonna hurry up and get done real quick. These are lifelong changes that we're instilling in ourselves, and it's not something that's necessarily going to have happen overnight. Start with fruit. Start with replacing one of your meals. If you're used to eating 3 meals a day, not eating 3 meals a day is a start. Right? If you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you decide that you want to start being healthier and you want it to be a lifestyle change, well, start skipping breakfast. That is a great way to start. Are you going to see life altering changes from skipping breakfast? Maybe. Some people have. Maybe not you, but some people have. It's not as common, but it is a positive step in the right direction. Um, if that's too much, if you don't want to skip breakfast, right? If that's not where you want to start, you can alter your meal by changing one of your meals to a completely fruit meal. So instead of eating hamburger or hamburger meat or bacon and pancakes and stuff like that early in the morning, which is extremely bad for your system, Try eating fruit for breakfast, fruit only. Skip the coffee, right? If I mean, there's so many options. Like there's so many different ways to do it. Don't put yourself in a box, and don't allow people to put you in a box. Don't allow gurus to put you in a box. Don't allow somebody that you respect to tell you that you have to do something a certain way, because it's your fasting journey. It's your health journey. It's whatever, do what's good for you. Just take a step in the right direction, and then the next day take another step in the right direction, and eventually you'll reach your destination. Someone asked, what is dry fasting? Dry fasting, simply put, is uh, not consuming any liquids or foods. So, you can, there's two different types of dry fasting. There's soft dry fasting, there's hard dry fasting. Hard dry fasting means you don't come in contact with water at all. Soft dry fasting means you can take showers, brush your teeth, etc. Um, I would say that if you're new to the whole deal, I wouldn't start with dry fasting. Dry fasting is something new that I've been promoting because I feel like it's time, and people have been asking a lot about it, but it's not necessarily the first step. It may be the first step for you. Some people have jumped right into dry fasting. It might not. You might want to try your hand at water fasting first, or fruit fasting first, or you might want to try juicing first. Whatever sounds appealing to you, try that first, and then play around with it. I wouldn't dry fast for long periods of time. If you haven't done it before, I would suggest starting off with 1 or 2 days. And then the very important thing to remember with dry fasting is how you rehydrate, or how you start drinking again. That's very important. You want to make sure that you're sipping your water slowly throughout the day. You don't want to come off of a dry fast and start guzzling water. That can cause major problems, because uh, your body starts to adjust to the dry fast, just like it starts adjusting to water fasting. And you can shock your system if you just go back into drinking a whole bunch of water or something. Uh, I'm not exactly sure what the question is. How do you eat after 10? Maybe are you asking, do I eat after 10? I tend to stop eating before 10 o'clock. That doesn't always happen. What I have found is that digestion kind of trumps um, when I stop eating. The important thing for me is to not eat the very first thing I do in the morning, or the very first thing when I wake up, is to not eat. Okay, so breakfast, whatever time that might be for you, you want to skip breakfast. You want to give yourself, a chance to start lubricating. So get yourself some water in your system early in the morning, or when you very first wake up. That's very, very good for your body. And then, wait 4 or 5 hours before you start consuming food. If you can eat fruit as your first meal, that'd be very good, beneficial. And then, my mom used to tell me that if I ate late at night, I would have nightmares. It never happened. There's a lot of people who talk about eating late at night and how it disrupts the body's natural rhythm. I think that there's a lot to be explored. I think that we get in trouble where we listen to people without really fully understanding our own bodies and how things make us feel. We can make recommendations. And from my aspect of things, from my perspective, I have to make general recommendations, things that tend to work for most people. Um, Not eating before or after 10 o'clock tends to work for most people. It tends to, be good for most people. Not eating before 12 noon or 11 a.m. tend to be good for most people. What you're doing is you're creating a fasting, an extended fasting period. If you stop eating, at 9, and you don't start eating again until 11 the next day, you've created a very large fasting window, which is easy to maintain for most people because you sleep 6 or 8 hours during that time. So the goal is to really just create a lifestyle where you've got large fasting periods built into your life. That's a really good thing. Mm, how long until the mucoid plaque comes out? I'm not really an expert at getting rid of the mucoid plaque. I defer to other people for that. Me personally, what I did was I took the Dr. Sebi small cleanse package during my fast, and within 14 days, the mucoid plaque had started coming out. I also like Lauren Lockman. Um, I don't 100% agree with everything he says, but I agree with the mass majority of the information he puts out. It tends to resonate with me as well as um, it tends to correlate with the data that I'm collecting. So he's another source for fasting information that I would uh, consider trustworthy, but he tends to be able to get the mucoid plaque going within 21 days with his fasts. He doesn't really go into details, or at least I haven't found a talk where he goes into details on how to do that. I just know that he talks about it, and he's got a fasting center, and people tend to see that come out within 21 days. I'm Unfortunately, I can't give you more information about that. If you're waiting for the mucoid plaque to come out on its own by just fasting, what tends to happen is it takes very long fasting cycles. Uh, I've seen people who, been fasting for 30 something days, almost 40 days, and they tend to start seeing it come out on its own like that. But I guess that's just something that you might have to do a little bit research on your own. Like I said, I used the Dr. Sebi small cleanse package that the herbs helped kind of break that stuff out, break it up and flush it out. I had mucus coming out of every orifice of my body, not to get too graphic, but I also had the mucoid plaque stuff come out during a bowel movement, which was weird. It feels very weird, but it's also very good to get out of you because it causes so many problems, and a lot of us don't know about it. Um, let's see what we got. I love smart water. Is smart water okay to drink during the fast? Smart water is steam distilled, if I'm not mistaken, and it also has electrolytes added. The thing that's interesting about electrolytes in the smart water, if you read the bottle, it says electrolytes added for taste. Isn't that curious that they would say electrolytes added for taste? Why wouldn't they add electrolytes for nutritional value? And why wouldn't that be a bigger selling point than to add electrolytes for taste? What that leads me to believe is that they're using inorganic minerals in the water in order to alter the taste to make it taste um, fresher than what it is, or to cover up the taste of something else that's in the water. So I don't really trust smart water. Am I telling you not to drink it? No, drink it if you want to. I'm just saying that I personally don't trust it. And I would recommend that you process your own water because you know exactly what's in the water. Especially if you want to add electrolytes to your water, I would suggest processing the water yourself. Um, in October, I will be doing a video, like I mentioned earlier. We'll be talking about how I process my water, and so that you guys can see what I do. It's not a hassle at all for me, and but it did take me a while to get used to. But now it's everyday life for me. So I wouldn't trust any bottled water. Um, uh-oh. Sorry, guys. I lost my place. I eat cucumbers and drink salt water after your fast. Breaking your fast with cucumbers is great. Cucumbers are just water, you know. Also, just so you guys know, I do consider cucumber a fruit because it's the ovary of a plant, and that's how I define fruit, the ovary of a plant. Do I think alternate week fasting is effective? Yeah, I think alternate week fasting is a very good way to fast. It will allow you to get in the habit of fasting. And when you fast for long periods of time, it's much more effective than fasting for short periods of time. So what I mean by that is, if you were trying to choose between fasting, um, let's say that you were choosing between fasting. Let me see. One day a week, right? Like let's say that you were going to choose between fasting one day a week every week versus um, fasting 3 days, 3 days biweekly. Okay. Yeah. Let's go with that. So let's say your option is fasting one day a week every week. So you'd be fasting 4 days a month versus fasting 3 days biweekly. The 3 days biweekly would be the one that I would say to go for. You get more benefit. As you fast, the longer you fast, your body, there's levels to it. There's levels to fasting. Um, Between hours 1 and 16 of your fast is not the same as hours 24 to 48. Okay, different things take place. You get a deeper, richer cleanse the longer you fast consecutively. So always go for the longer fast over um, fasting. More like if you were to do a short intermittent fast every day, right? Let's say you had a 16-hour eating window every day versus doing a 3-day fast per week. I would go with the 3-day fast over the intermittent fasting. It's more beneficial. Actually, what I would do is I do both. I'd say do the intermittent fasting every day, make that a lifestyle, and then fast 3 days a week, every week. Can you fast with tap water? Yep, you can fast with tap water. Is it recommended? No, because there's a lot of crap in tap water, a lot. So it's working against your goal, which is detoxification and healing. But it would still be effective. It would just be less effective. Um, Somebody said I'm at a public park right now, can't even find a jug of distilled water. Preparation goes a long way. I take my water with me everywhere I go. One thing that I did notice is as I started going through this process, I do require less and less water because I eat a lot of my water. And also, as I spoke about earlier, the water that I drink is actually more effective when you energize it, when you take it through this process, and your body actually starts becoming more hydrated. So you actually require less water. The reason we require, so much water is because we don't get enough water. We're not hydrated enough. As you start becoming more hydrated, you do require less water. Most of the time, I drink half a gallon a day now. Um, and I don't promote that because you guys aren't necessarily going to be where I'm at. But you will notice as you go through I mean, I've been at it for 3 years now, but you will notice that you'll require less water, uh, as you get through your journey. Is purified water and distilled water the same thing? No, it's not. They're completely different. Distilled water means there's nothing in the water. Okay, it's a process that removes everything from the water. Purified water is like filtered water. Yeah, somebody pointed out that the key to fat loss is sleep. Yeah, sleep is extremely important to fat loss for many reasons I've spoke about before. Mainly because you lose most of your weight while asleep because it comes out in your breath and you have a more natural breathing pattern when you sleep. So those things correlate. You'll notice that when you get on a scale, you've lost most of the weight overnight. If you're carnivore diet, someone is suggesting that you try the carnivore diet if you have food cravings. I'm not exactly sure what the carnivore diet is. There's a lot of talk about eating for your blood type, different diets, and things like that. Um, I'm very big on eating eating and monitoring how you feel. I think it's curious that people will promote diets and be very dead set on their diet being the best and they're not healthy. If you're overweight and you've been using a diet for 10 years, it's not something that I think was probably how can you promote that? Like how can you promote a diet that has caused you to be overweight, right? I don't get that. Uh, you know, the diet that I promote isn't really it's not a real diet. It's more like a way of thinking, like a process. I don't promote eating meat because uh, based on the research that I've done and based on how meat makes me feel when I consume it, um, I don't think that it's beneficial. Is eating a small amount of meat going to hurt you? Probably not. The biggest issue with eating meat are just the chemicals in the processing of the meat. People used to ask me all the time, Chris, if if someone hunted a deer and you knew the deer was, it's they got it from nature and it's healthy and blah blah blah, no chemicals, would you eat it? And I said no, not because I felt like, you know, I'm not like an animal activist, but I personally feel like eating meat clogs me up. And so outside of meat being, processed with so many different chemicals, so much stuff happens to meat. Uh, I personally feel like eating meat clogs me up. Now, there's other foods that I've stopped eating for the same reason. Okay. Um, if you want to eat meat, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you. Do I think that it's the optimal diet? No, I don't. You know, um, some people claim to feel better when they eat meat. It goes back to what I said before about us learning our bodies. What makes you feel good may not necessarily mean it's good for you. So like if you're addicted to heroin, you start going through withdrawals and you have a little heroin, it's going to make you feel good. That doesn't mean that it's good for you. So the most important thing is to learn what's good for us. Now, I believe that we can utilize fasting as a way to reset our bodies and we'll start to learn what's good for us. The more I fast, the healthier I get, the more pure I eat, the more my body reacts to things that aren't good for me. Most of you know that I have not completely stopped eating animal products, which is why I don't claim, one of the reasons I don't claim veganism, because, I'll still have some bread that might have eggs in it or something like that. It happens when I go out to eat. I eat a 80% alkaline, 20% vegetarian diet. And so anyway, but what I've noticed is when I eat these products, it reacts in my body a lot differently from when I'm just cooking my alkaline meals at home. Okay. It doesn't make me feel good, or I'll get excessive mucus or something like that will happen. My stomach will hurt. My stomach reacts very quickly to things. And it's taken me a while to really get to understand that. Before, I'd eat this stuff all the time and I never noticed anything. So through your journeys and stuff like that, I would just suggest committing yourself to a eating style, you know, utilize fasting and a particular eating style, determine how that makes you feel, and then alter it and see how the alteration affected you. One thing that I did was I wrote things down, and it's one of the reasons why I created the Healthy Alternative Fasting Journals, is because I really, really believe in writing things down. It helps you remember, number one, and track. And this is your fasting journey. You should be as committed to it as anyone else, if not more. It's your fasting journey or your health journey. So write things down. Write down what you eat. Um, and write down how it makes you feel and pay attention to it and then change it. change. Try something else and see how that makes you feel. And try to give yourself enough time to really adjust. Coming off of a fast and changing your diet might help you see a little bit better because fasting kind of resets the body a little bit. So you'll get an opportunity to just kind of, okay, with a clean slate, see how eating chocolate makes you feel. That was one of the first things I noticed. Chocolate never bothered me before, ever, 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 ever. Okay, and when I say chocolate, I'm talking about like candy bars and stuff, processed chocolate. I came off of my first rounds of long-term fasting. I hadn't eaten chocolate in 3 or 4 months, and I had a chocolate bar, and it made me feel terrible. I could feel it stimulating me. I could feel it coursing through my veins. Okay, that's something I had never felt before. As a matter of fact, I might have told you chocolate comforted me before, right? A lot of people say chocolate comforts them. It's something about the chemicals in chocolate. It makes you feel good. But after coming off of a long session of fasting and eating alkaline, I had some chocolate and it didn't make me feel good. And guess what? It was very easy to stop eating chocolate bars after that. I'm going to answer a few more questions. How can you continue your fast when you're surrounded by bad food from family? Discipline. Discipline is how you can complete your fast. Um, if you need to distract yourself, find something you enjoy. I used to be able to get lost playing video games for hours. I mean, that was something that I could distract myself with for literally hours or days at a time. It's not something I could do anymore. Some people can get lost in books. Do whatever you feel like is necessary at the time to get over the hump. Usually, we find that the first 3 days is a little bit more difficult for most people, and after that, it gets a little bit easier. Um, that's not 100% true for everybody. Some people have really easy first few days, and then it gets harder. So, so document your journey. Really figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Uh, maybe if you're around bad food all of the time, maybe a good starting point for you, if that's too much for you, it might be easier just to start off altering your diet. You still will see health improvements from altering your diet. If you do a fruit only fast, you will still see health improvements. So maybe that's where you should start. Everybody doesn't have the same mental fortitude as the next person. Yeah. Yep. Fasting helped John with his sleep apnea. Uh, Sorry, someone mentioned that their fasting schedule helped them with sleeping at night. Yeah, it helps with sleep. It helps with sleeping. It also gives you more energy, and some people have trouble sleeping when they're fasting. I know I could only sleep for about 4 or 5 hours when I'm fasting. It's nothing to be afraid of. Just be prepared for it. If you're the type of person when you fast, you don't require much sleep, figure out something to do at that time. A book you want to read, a paper you want to write. If you're a gamer, you can always find time to play some more games. Maybe learning some new recipes or something like that. For some reason, when I was fasting, anything as it related to cooking seemed to make me feel better. It was just, I don't know, it helped me. Wild Honey said she got nightmares from eating late at night. That's interesting that your experience is different from mine. I've never gotten nightmares from eating late at night. I wonder if it's possible that your nightmares might be from a chemical imbalance of the type of food that you ate. I'm also curious if you can, not to say you should test it, but I'm wondering if you like ate late at night every night, would you have a nightmare every night? Mm, Flaxseed in my juice? Um, I'm not familiar with the benefits of flaxseed. I do think flaxseed's probably a good. I've never heard there's anything wrong with flaxseed. I have flaxseed downstairs in my cupboard right now. I don't see any problem with it. Try it out. Do I have a buddy system for fasting? Uh, One of the things that I'm putting together is a welcome committee for the group. We're still trying to figure that whole thing out, but it's something that we'll be working on is getting together a system for people to help each other fast. I think that's, for me, that makes the most sense. When I started fasting, I had John and I fasted a lot together, so that helped. If you guys don't have anyone in your life to help you fast, um, just put a post on the group. There's plenty of people who are willing to fast with you. A lot of friendships have been built on the Facebook group. If you're not on the Facebook group and you don't like Facebook, look, I don't like Facebook, but I do get on Facebook, and obviously it's a good tool to use for this whole fasting journey and for the healthy alternative movement. Create a Facebook just so that you can get on the group and then keep it blank, and you don't have to put any information. No one has to know who you necessarily are, but you can still get the support. That's one option, I suppose. 48 hours into a soft dry fast, can I use enemas? Yeah, I would definitely say you could do an enema if you're doing a soft dry fast. I know Steve mentioned that doing an enema during his water fast helped. So I could definitely see where doing an enema during a dry fast would help. Um, the key with dry fasting is just not to drink water. I think that's where you get the most benefit. Obviously, taking really long baths and showers, you may you may you may slow down the process. I really don't have any personal experience with that. Um, you know, if you're bathing in really pure water, like really good water, I can't see it hurting you. If you're bathing in tap water or something like that, I could see it hurting you just because there's a lot of chemicals in the water. So if you're going to do an enema, I would suggest you purifying the water. Or distilling the water um, beforehand. I wouldn't use anything in the water though. The more pure the water, the better if you're going to use it for an enema. Let me see if I can find a couple more questions. Dry fasting is much easier than water fasting for whatever reason. I think it's because your digestive system shuts down completely. One of the biggest issues that we tend to have as a whole with fasting is just the hunger pains. Some people don't get it, but most of us do deal with that. And not having to deal with the hunger pains makes it makes it much easier. And dry fasting, for whatever reason, I don't know. It's easier. I don't deal with the hunger pains nearly as much, and that's what other people tend to say as well. Go on channel. Could you talk about electrolytes? Um, so the heart palpitations. A lot of people believe that taking the electrolytes will help with that. The reality is that it will. The reason why is because the heart palpitations, it's a detox symptom. I don't know exactly what causes it, and I don't want you guys to think that I know it all or that I proclaim to know it all. I don't know what causes it. I can tell you that I went through it, and I've gone through it several times on several different fasts, and I've seen it happen to many, many people. Most people have the heart palpitations, and if you continue fasting without taking the electrolytes, they go away naturally. So, it begs the question, if the electrolytes are necessary and you're doing a pure water fast and you're not getting the electrolytes, how is it that your body seems to rectify that issue with the heart? I mean, no one seems to have the answer to that question. They just tell you you got to take the electrolytes. But if you go past that point and you disregard the advice to take the electrolytes, though that irregular heartbeat thing goes away. It's gone away every time I've ever done a fast. And actually, I had an issue before I ever started fasting. One of the reasons I started getting healthy is because I had some type of weird heartbeat murmur thing going on with me. And that has permanently gone away since I started fasting. And I don't take electrolytes, I never have. So I find that curious that, people swear up and down that you need the electrolytes, but in the situations that I have experienced personally, as well as with people who have gone beyond um, the detox symptoms and have decided to keep going without the electrolytes, they tend to see those issues go away as well. Also, if you try drinking some fresh squeezed juice during your fast while you're having those heart palpitations, um, you'll probably find they go away, because if they are a detox symptom, stunting the detox process, no matter what you use, whether it's electrolytes or juice or whatever, would cause those symptoms to subside. So, maybe it's just something that you guys have to try for yourself. I don't want to encourage you to do anything dangerous, but I don't believe this is dangerous at all. I just it's unheard of for someone to have serious problems from fasting who do fasting properly. Most people who have problems from fasting have it during their refeed, and usually it's because they're eating garbage or lots of food. You can have problems from eating garbage, or you can have problems from eating a lot of food after your fast, even if it's good food. So keep those things in mind. Vitamins during a fast. I don't have a problem with vitamins during a fast. I would just highly encourage you guys to take whole vitamins. Whole vitamins are the only vitamins that I would encourage you all to use across the board, fasting or not. Uh, I'm gonna take a couple more questions, and then I'm going to go make some dinner. Uh, Guys, make sure to check out that ice cream video. The chocolate ice cream video is out right now. So after the live stream, you guys can go check it out. I hope some of you guys decide to try the recipe. It's really good. It's really, really good. And if you do things the way I did it, especially getting an ice cream machine, I think you'll get really great results. I also talk about what container I use to store my ice cream in. And I've been playing around with different types of ice cream. I'm going to be working on a strawberry ice cream soon. So the chocolate is done, the vanilla is done. I want to do the strawberry, and that way we have our three bases for the ice cream. Um, can I say your name? It's Danielle. Okay, Danielle. Uh, don't have too much fun with that. All right, you guys are starting to get goofy. The Facebook name is A Healthy Alternative. You can find a link for it at the bottom of any of my videos. Trying to break it off with coffee. Yeah, fasting is good for breaking addictions, especially coffee addictions. You're going to go through the withdrawal symptoms. There's really no getting around that. But as long as mentally you've decided that you do want to get rid of this addiction, when you physically become separated from it, mentally just don't go back to it anymore. You don't need coffee. One of my friends a long time ago used to drink a energy shot every day and have coffee every single day because she works too hard and pushes herself too hard. Um, she started getting really, really bad migraines. I told her to drink a gallon of water every day for the next 30 days. That was our deal. The only other stipulation was to stop drinking the coffee and stop drinking the energy shots. Within 6 days, her migraines had gone away, never to return. She was also very surprised that she didn't require the energy from coffee. Now, after the 30 days, she went back to doing what she was doing, I would assume, because she started drinking the coffee again eventually. So, I can only, you lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. At the end of the day, I can only share this information with you guys. It's up to you to utilize it. And, I mean, why go back to some? If you say you need coffee for energy, and then I can show you that you don't need it, why go back to it? If you want to drink coffee for taste and things like that, then that's another story. Maybe there's a way to find a healthy version of coffee that's, not Folgers or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a coffee drinker. I'm not really a fan of coffee, so I don't have any answers for you there. Um, did I answer the question about blood pressure yet? I'm not exactly sure what the blood pressure was, but if you're talking about blood pressure dropping during a fast, then yeah, blood pressure is absolutely going to drop during a fast. My blood pressure dropped. John's blood pressure's dropped. I don't think there's any getting around that. It's something that it would take your body a long time to adjust to. So if you're new to fasting, definitely expect your blood pressure to drop. Any type of um, dizziness or lightheadedness is probably going to be due to your blood pressure adjusting, and so you want to be careful about standing up too fast and things of that nature. I do have a video on high blood pressure, so if you have high blood pressure and you're looking to heal high blood pressure with fasting, I would check that video out. I think it's called how fasting affects high blood pressure. It's a couple months old. The video is a couple months old, but you can absolutely permanently heal high blood pressure utilizing fasting. But I wouldn't utilize fasting as a treatment. I would find out what's causing the high blood pressure. It tends to be dietary most of the time. It can also be medications, and there's different things that can give you high blood pressure. The thing to remember about blood pressure is that it's self-regulate. Body self-regulates. So if your blood pressure is high, that's because the body believes the blood pressure needs to be high. If high blood pressure worries you, then your goal should be figuring out what's causing the blood pressure to be high, not attacking the high blood pressure itself, if that makes sense. The high blood pressure is your body's intelligent response to something. Um, and so what you need to figure out is what is causing your body to respond that way and eliminate that thing from your diet or from your overall consumption. Uh, that's the goal there. Uh, the chat's moving on me. What about inflammation, soreness? Um, I don't have a lot of experience with people doing pure water fasting and seeing inflammation. In the experience I have, the inflammation is usually caused by some other type of outside stimulus. It could be a medication that you're on. It could be something that you're putting in your water. It could be for women, during the certain times of the month, women retain water. That's kind of a hard question to answer without knowing more information. Um, Generally speaking, fasting, water fasting and dry fasting is actually going to lower inflammation. So if you're seeing inflammation, there's probably some other explanation for it. Fasting in within itself doesn't cause inflammation. So there could be something else going on that you need to address. And fasting is just making it a prominent in your world, and you're seeing inflammation. But generally speaking, fasting won't cause inflammation. It actually does the reverse. Uh, are you going to eat? Oh crap! Are you going to eat your dinner? I gotta make my dinner first. But oh, okay. This will be the last question I'm going to take because it's kind of a good question. It's important. Um, Tips for chefs learning how to chef, right? Oh, tips for a chef starting fasting. Okay, well, I'll answer your question. I misread it the first time. If you're a chef and you're fasting, it may be easier for you to ease into it and do a fruit diet, or do a fruit fast first, or do a juice fast first. Just because if food is a huge temptation for you, then I don't see the point of putting yourself through that. I would just do fruit first. Get yourself used to it. You will experience detoxing through doing fruit only, and it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world either. It is still difficult to do a fruit fast, but do that first. Do that first. Give your body a chance to adjust, to acclimatize, and then move into maybe some water fasting. Maybe just fasting while you're not at work might be good. So if you work 8 hours a day, fasting the rest of the day, that may be an option for you as well, just to start off. Now, as you give yourself a week or two to kind of acclimatize to it, you can start doing your pure water fasting. That might be one option. But the question I thought you were asking was how to learn how to kind of like start chefing, how to start cooking uh, healthy. I have a video on my transition into healthier eating, and it is a transition, and it took me a year to really get the ball rolling. I would highly suggest that you all give yourself some time. Don't expect things to happen overnight. That's the first suggestion I would give you. The second suggestion I would say, check out Ty's Conscious Kitchen on YouTube. I used to promote him a lot more when I did cooking videos, but recently I don't really use his channel as much anymore, just because I've learned how to kind of cook for myself, and I learned what I like, and I can put things together very quickly and easily. So I don't look at the cooking channels as much as I used to, but I started there with him. I like the way his food tastes. Find a chef online who cooks alkaline meals. Um, that's a good start point. Even if you're going to eat meat and things like that, it's still a good start point, because you can incorporate those alkaline meals into your meat. With, for example, one of the recipes might call for using oyster mushrooms in the place of meat. Right? You can still season it just like you would if you were going to use the oyster mushrooms, but use your meat instead, um, and try to use alkaline ingredients for your sides. That would be a good option. Or you might be surprised. Oyster mushrooms are a great meat substitute or replacement or whatever. They don't taste like any particular meat, but they have a texture similar to meat. So it's easier transition for meat eaters. Um, and there's other meat substitutes people have. So be patient with yourself. That's the other thing I would say. Be patient with yourself. Give yourself a chance to really like relearn. You've been cooking and eating a certain way for who knows how long. Give yourself a chance to really transition. I think that's all the questions I'm going to answer today, guys. I really had a lot of fun. I always enjoy doing these live videos. Um, I've got some ice cream. I got a little bit of vanilla ice cream left. I'm gonna have tonight, and yeah, I feel good. Um, I got an update on the notebooks. It looks like they are on schedule to be delivered by the first week of October. So for all of you who have grabbed your pre-orders for the notebooks, thank you. I appreciate that. They still are on sale for the entire month of September, and if I get a batch early, I'll do a video. I'll post a video, and that way you guys can get a chance to see the actual notebook. And I'll talk a little bit about what writing things down means to me, and maybe that'll help you make your decision whether or not you want to grab one. I did include a few guides in there, fasting guide, and some recipes, and I think we can have a lot of fun with them. So check them out. They are $35. They are 15% off right now through the month of September. And I've got links. There should be a link in the description box of this video for the pre-sale. You can also check out on the Facebook group. There's a link in the announcement section of the Facebook group. What else? Still working on the committees. I'm gonna be talking to my advisory committee tomorrow, and I appreciate the patience for all of those who keep asking me, what's going on and everything like that. We had a little snafu with organizing the applications, and it set us back a little bit. So just continue to be patient with us. And yeah, that's it. Wow, you made it, Mr. Reed. You made it late, or M. Reed. You can always rewatch it. It's only an hour and 30 minutes. All right, guys, I will see you on Sunday.